Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into, well, a really fascinating paradox today. On one side, you've got artificial intelligence being, weaponized. It's a tool for threat actors doing all sorts of nasty things.
Right.
But here's the twist. The very same tech, AI, is being used to fight back, to detect and disrupt those same bad actors.
Exactly. And the source material we have for this deep dive, it gives us this incredibly current look at that exact dynamic.
Yeah.
It's a detailed report from a leading AI organization, and it focuses specifically on real-world cases they've actually detected and disrupted just in the last 3 months. Like a snapshot of this AI arms race playing out right now.
Okay, so our mission then is to dig into this stack of sources, pull out the most important sort of nuggets of knowledge for you. We're going to look at how AI is enabling malicious stuff, social engineering, cyber espionage, some really tricky deceptive employment schemes.
Covert influence operations, straight up scams.
Yeah.
It covers a lot.
Yeah, and it's global, right? The report makes that clear.
Oh, absolutely. These cases are coming from all over. China, Cambodia, the Philippines, Russia, Iran. And they even trace some activity that likely points to North Korea.
So let's start with the landscape. How are these threat actors actually using AI, based on what the report found?
Well, what's really striking here is that AI is mostly acting as a force multiplier. That's the key term they use.
A force multiplier, meaning?
Meaning, in these cases at least, it's not necessarily giving them brand new, impossible capabilities. Instead, it's automating tasks. It lets the bad actors scale up their operations, makes them more efficient across, all sorts of different attacks.
So doing the same bad things, just faster and bigger. The report mentions generating deceptive content, creating fake personas at scale.
Yeah, and speeding up malware development, automating cyber reconnaissance.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Which naturally brings us to the other side of the coin, the defense.
Right, the counter approach.
The report lays out how they're using AI, deploying their own tools, essentially using AI as a force multiplier for their investigators.
Exactly. Helping them detect, disrupt, expose this stuff faster and at a scale that, probably wasn't possible before.
And this is where it gets really interesting, tying back to that paradox you mentioned. The report actually claims that by using AI so much, the threat actors might kind of accidentally increase their own visibility.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Their AI-driven workflow, it leaves these digital breadcrumbs. And defenders, who are also using AI, can pick up on those patterns, gives them crucial insights into how the attackers work, which can lead straight to disruption.
So the tool they use for speed could actually be their downfall. That's a really key point. Okay, let's get into some specifics. The report groups cases together, right?
Yeah, into clusters. Let's start with the ones focused on financial and deceptive schemes. Basically, trying to trick people out of money or, through fake job offers.
First up, a deceptive employment scheme, targeting IT workers. The report links this one to actors likely linked to the DPRK North Korea.
Right. And the behavior described is, these actors are trying to level up their fake hiring game using AI.
How so?
They're automating resume creation. You feed it a job description, skill templates, maybe a fake persona profile, and boom, tailored resume.
Wow.
And they're researching tools for remote work setups. Things like Tailscale, that's a peer-to-peer VPN, OBS Studio, VD.Ninja, tools for injecting live feeds. They're specifically looking for ways to get around security checks, bypass identity verification in remote interviews.
And recruiting actual people in the U.S. to get company laptops, then letting the actors access them remotely. That's intricate.
Oh, yeah. Very.
Yeah.
And the report says AI helps even with filling out applications, asking about payment details.
So the AI is doing the writing, the applying.
Pretty much. It's mainly AI completions helping generate those resumes at scale, answering interview questions convincingly, getting guidance on the tricky remote setup stuff, security evasion, even helping with bits of code, like making the mouse move to keep a remote computer from sleeping.
Okay, so what's the big takeaway from this one? Did it work?
Well, the report is careful here. They couldn't independently assess the actual impact on victims. That's a limitation.
Okay.
But the core lesson they pull out is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, the actors used AI to try and speed things up, scale up. But doing that left traces. It increased their exposure. And that gave the defenders the clues they needed to disrupt it. It's a really clear example of that paradox. AI helps the offense, but it can also help the defense spot them.
Unnerving scale, definitely. But maybe easier to spot if you know what AI patterns look like. Okay, another one in this cluster. Operation Wrong Number. Sounds dodgy already. Likely Cambodia origin.
That's right. And this sounds like that classic task scam model we've heard about before.
Yeah.
Offering big money for easy, trivial tasks.
Right, like clicking buttons or something.
Exactly. And AI is just pouring gasoline on this fire. The behavior involves generating recruitment messages in a ton of languages. English, Spanish, Swahili, Kinyarwanda, German, Haitian Creole. Huge reliance on AI for translation. Often from Chinese to these other languages and back again. It powers the conversations between the scam operator and the employees.
And the report described the workflow with that catchy phrase, ping, zing, sting.
Yeah, chilling but descriptive. The ping is that first cold message. Like the SMS they mentioned in the report, sent to random numbers.
Yeah.
High wages, easy work, directing people to WhatsApp or Telegram.
Okay.
The zing is the engagement phase, translating all the back and forth, mixing instructions with motivational stuff. Look how much you could earn. Showing fake screenshots of earnings, pushing victims to recruit their friends. The report even notes they generated entire fake conversations between multiple fake personas to make it seem like a real bustling community.
That's deeply deceptive. And then the sting.
That's the hook. Generating and sending messages that pressure people to put money in, initial deposits, crypto transfers to fake merchants, handling fees, all supposedly to unlock even bigger rewards later. That Telegram example asking for crypto, classic sting.
Yeah, I saw that. So what was the impact here? Did people fall for it?
Again, hard to quantify precisely from their end, but they mentioned seeing off-platform reports and people asking for refunds, which strongly suggests real victims. And interestingly, they even saw some genuine users defending the scam companies online, which means some level of real, if manipulated, engagement was happening.
So the key insight here is AI just massively scaled the communication side across languages, making the deception much broader, much faster.
Exactly. Much faster than a human team could ever manage manually.
Okay, moving away from direct financial scams. AI is also big in trying to manipulate public opinion, right? Let's look at that second cluster, covert influence operations, IO. And just to be clear, like the report will focus on the how the behavior in AI use, staying neutral on the actual political content.
Absolutely. First IO case. Operation Sneer Review, linked to likely China.
Sneer Review. Okay, what were they doing?
Bulk generating social media comments and posts. TikTok, X, Reddit, Facebook, in English, Chinese, and Urdu. And they had this distinct pattern. Post a main piece of content, then immediately flood it with AI-generated replies to make it look like people were naturally engaging with it.
Like faking their own comment section. I remember seeing screenshots of that on TikTok and X in the report.
Exactly. And they were using accounts where the screen names didn't match the language of the content at all, like a Korean name posting in Urdu or Thai and Hebrew names posting in English. Seems like maybe an oversight caused by the sheer scale AI enabled.
Interesting slip-up. What kind of topics were they pushing with AI?
All sorts. They targeted a video game called Reversed Front with negative comments, even a long critical article. They went after a Pakistani activist, Marang Balak, with false accusations, hundreds of generated comments on a video about her. And they commented on the closure of USAID, sometimes tying it to U.S. tariff policies. They even used AI for internal stuff, like drafting policy docs or performance reviews.
So did Sneer Review actually work? What was the impact?
The report assessed it as low impact. It looked like the operation was maybe just starting up when they caught it.
Okay.
A key takeaway here is, yeah, AI lets you generate tons of content, but the engagement numbers, likes, views, comments, especially on places like X and TikTok, you have to take them with a huge grain of salt. Much of it was probably fake, generated by the network itself. They rated it low end of category 3, maybe even lower. Volume didn't equal real influence here.
Got it. Volume isn't reach. Next IO case, Operation High Five. This one's from the Philippines, linked to a company, Common Sense, Inc.
Right. This involved generating loads of short comments, mostly in English and Taglish. That's the English-Tagalog mix, primarily for TikTok and Facebook. The content was very focused on Philippine politics.
Yeah.
Strongly pro-Marcos and anti-Duterte.
Using AI for what exactly?
Content analysis, like figuring out themes to hit, generating the actual comments, even drafting PR pitches and statistical analyses for the campaign. They mentioned 5 specific TikTok channels they were running.
And the comments weren't exactly subtle, were they? Praising President Marcos, criticizing Vice President Sara Duterte. I see the report mentions they use nicknames like Princess Fiona for her.
Yeah, pretty partisan stuff. And the tactic was to create fake accounts, often with 0 followers, no posts of their own, just to spam these comments. They'd post on their own channels or jump into the comment sections of mainstream news pages trying to, overwhelmed the conversation.
So, lots of noise. But did it actually sway anyone? Impact?
They definitely posted thousands of comments. Huge volume. But again, the report assessed it as low impact, category 2. Very little authentic engagement on the comments themselves. Their goal of inundating comment sections. Only partly successful on the big news sites compared to the total number of comments already there. The insight seems to be, AI can help you flood the zone with partisan spam. But if it's low quality and obviously fake, it doesn't guarantee real influence.
Okay, shifting gears slightly within IO. Operation Vague Focus. Also likely China origin, but this one seems to mix in some social engineering, maybe intelligence gathering.
Yes, this one's interesting. They used AI to generate social media posts and bios for fake personas, pretending to be journalists or analysts working for made-up organizations like Focus Lens News, Brightwave Media Europe, and the Visionary Advisory Group, or VAG.
Okay, fake news outlets.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And they used AI to translate emails and messages, Chinese to English, for social engineering attempts, basically trying to trick specific people into giving up information, likely for intelligence collection.
They were even asking the AI about basic cyber attack tools and translating messages to try and engage targets, asking how to do bulk messaging.
Correct. The AI prompts showed them describing Focus Lens News explicitly as a cover for intel gathering, and mentioning the Visionary Advisory Group, VAG in Turkey, offering crazy money, like $2,000 an hour for interviews or offering to pay for classified documents. The report even flags a detail, finding Chinese characters on the English contact page of the VAG website, a potential slip.
So AI helping craft the bait for intelligence gathering. What was the impact? Did it work?
Well, the online activity they observed was actually surprisingly small scale. The social media accounts didn't have much real engagement. That Focus Lens News X account, for instance, had 17,000 followers, but it looked old and inactive until recently might have been a compromised account, not organic growth.
Ah.
They didn't seem to have much luck getting responses from their targets either. So the report rated the public-facing part as low impact, maybe low end of category 2, and they didn't have enough data to say if the social engineering actually succeeded. The takeaway, AI can help you write deceptive messages, sure, but it doesn't guarantee success if your overall tradecraft or reach isn't good enough.
Makes sense. Okay, next. Operation Helgoland Bite. Apparently Russia origin.
This one focused on Germany, generating German language content about the upcoming 2025 German election, mostly criticizing the U.S. and NATO.
Where did they put this content?
Primarily on a Telegram channel called Nachhall von Helgoland, Echo of Helgoland, which had about 1,755 subscribers. And that same content was reposted word for word on a website linked to the Pravda network, which is known as part of the Portal Combat Propaganda Network.
And an X account, too, with over 27,000 followers, often posting pro-AfD stuff that's the alternative for Germany party.
Yeah.
And the report mentioned an AI-generated profile picture on that account.
Yes, another layer of potential fakeness there. The AI prompts showed them generating articles, social media comments, asking the AI for public info on German opposition activists and bloggers how to contact them, and translating internal Russian messages about coordination and payments into German.
Okay, so quite targeted. What was the impact assessment for Helgoland Bite?
It was rated towards the higher end of Category 2. That's mostly based on the Telegram subscriber count and the X followers. But, and this is key, the report found little evidence of genuine engagement or wider sharing outside of that existing reposting network. So the insight, AI, helped generate localized content at volume, but it didn't seem to break through into mainstream German discussion or have widespread influence based on what they saw.
All right, last one in the IO cluster. Recidivist activity from Storm 2035, likely Iran-linked. Recidivist meaning they've been caught doing this before.
Exactly. This group was previously disrupted but came back. They were prompting AI in Persian, generating batches of short comments in English and Spanish, mainly for X.
And using fake accounts.
Likely inauthentic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Posing as residents of the U.S., UK, Ireland, Venezuela. The report pointed out details like profile pics, often young women, faces hidden, images copied from Pinterest, and the accounts followed way more people than followed them, a classic bot signal. Interestingly, they seemed to keep their different campaigns more separate this time compared to before.
And the AI helped them cover a wide range of topics depending on the target country.
Yes, very varied. AI completions generated content about Latino rights in the U.S., often criticizing Trump. Support for Scottish independence, hitting the UK government. Support for Irish reunification, talking about expulsion of the British. Support for Venezuela and Cuba, comparing them favorably to the U.S. pro-Palestinian rights content. And praise for Iran's military and diplomacy, painting them as successfully challenging the U.S.
So AI enabling lots of topic-specific, geo-targeted, but maybe low-quality content. What was the impact?
Very low. Category 1 impact. The report notes typical tweets got maybe 150, 350 views. 0 likes, shares, or comments. Absolutely no sign of real people amplifying it. The insight from this persistent group. Even with AI helping generate varied content at scale, if your basic tradecraft is bad, obvious fake profiles, no real engagement, the whole effort just falls flat. AI can't polish a fundamentally flawed operation.
Okay, let's shift to the third cluster. Cyber operations. This is where AI was used to help with more technical attacks, right?
Exactly. First case here is a cyber operation called scope creep, attributed to a Russian-speaking actor.
Scope creep, what did they do?
They used AI to help develop and refine malware, specifically multi-stage malware for Windows, written in the Go language, that was disguised as a crosshair tool for gamers.
Okay, Trojanized software. How did AI help?
Specifically for debugging the code and for setting up the command and control infrastructure, the C2.
And the report mentioned something about their operational security.
Yeah, surprisingly good, apparently. Using temporary emails, even creating a new ChatGPT account for each separate coding task or conversation they had with the AI, likely trying very hard to avoid leaving a trail back to them.
Smart, but maybe also a signal in itself. Where did they distribute the malware?
Through a public code repository, making it look like a legitimate tool.
And the malware itself. The report detailed its capabilities, right? Things like C2 payloads avoiding detection, stealthy execution using DLL sideloading.
Right, running malicious code via legitimate library files. Obfuscation with the MITA, that's a software protector. Techniques for privilege escalation. Evading antivirus by adding exclusions via PowerShell. Using HTTPS over port 80, which can sometimes blend in. Stealing credentials and session cookies. Notifying the attacker via Telegram. Obfuscating traffic through proxies. Quite a list.
So where did the AI actually fit into building that?
It seems quite targeted. The prompts showed them asking for help debugging the Go code, especially for HTTPS requests, getting assistance with specific PowerShell commands to add those AV exclusions via Go, help integrating with the Telegram API for the notifications, basically using the AI as a smart debugging partner, pasting in error messages, code snippets that weren't working. The report maps this to specific LLM, ATT, and CK categories like aided development and enhanced anomaly detection evasion.
So AI mainly speeding up the development process for specific parts. What was the impact?
The report suggests the impact was probably limited because the defenders caught it relatively early.
Oh.
So yes, AI likely did speed up the malware development, but crucially, that very use of AI seems to have left the traces that allowed the defenders to spot and disrupt the operation early on. The malware itself wasn't revolutionary. The insight is that AI accelerated development, but also, again, created this window for early detection if you're looking for those AI-assisted workflows.
Another example of that paradox. Okay, final cluster. Cyber operations from Vixen and Keyhole Panda linked to China. This sounds like AI was used across many different phases.
Exactly. Distinct groups of actors apparently within the same broader networks, using AI for a whole range of things.
Like what?
Open source research using tools like Rengen, Selenium automation, technical troubleshooting helping with scripts, system configurations, developing support tools, Linux admin stuff, web apps, Android apps, software in C and Go, even infrastructure setup, VPNs, Docker, and researching the use of local large language models like DeepSeek, perhaps to avoid cloud detection. And they were using AI in both Chinese and English.
That's a really wide scope of technical assistance. Any specific examples of what they asked the AI for?
Yeah, things like help with password brute forcing scripts for FTP, modifying port scanning tools, researching AI-driven penetration testing ideas like using an LLM to analyze Nmap scan results and suggest attack commands, automating Android devices to manipulate social media, simulating swipes and clicks. But maybe most significantly, the report highlights extensive use of AI to research targets in the U.S. federal defense industry, military networks, and government tech.
Researching things like SOCOM special operations, command satellite comms, ground station locations, even government ID cards and secure networks like SIPRNet and JWICS, and the companies supporting them. That's sensitive stuff.
Very sensitive, and the report details this under LLM, ATT, and CK categories like advised strategic planning and assisted vulnerability research. AI essentially acting as a research assistant for target development.
So what's the big picture takeaway from Vixen and Keyhole Panda?
Well, the defenders disabled accounts and shared indicators, which gave them broad visibility into how these PRC-affiliated groups operate. But importantly, the report found no evidence that having access to these AI models gave them novel capabilities or pointed them towards targets or methods they couldn't have found through other means.
So again, efficiency, not necessarily new capability.
Exactly. It mirrors the other cases. AI seems to be supporting and accelerating their existing intelligence gathering and cyber operations methods, making them more efficient, rather than fundamentally changing what they can do.
Okay, so let's try and pull all these threads together, looking across all these diverse cases, scams, IO, cyber ops. What's the overall picture emerging right now?
I think it really highlights that AI is being woven into pretty much the entire malicious activity lifecycle. From the very start, planning, reconnaissance, through generating the content, developing the tools, setting up the infrastructure, actually executing the attack, trying to hide, and even what happens after a compromise. AI is becoming a component everywhere.
And it just powerfully underlines that paradox we started with, doesn't it? AI is absolutely giving attackers scale and efficiency. They can do bad things faster, bigger.
No doubt.
But maybe counterintuitively, that same use is creating new openings, new digital fingerprints that give defenders a chance to see them and stop them.
Exactly. Which leads to that crucial question. Is AI fundamentally changing the nature of these threats? Is it creating entirely new types of attacks we've never seen? Based on these cases in this report, the answer seems to be not yet.
Right. It's more acceleration than innovation, at least for now.
Yeah, AI isn't providing truly novel capabilities in these examples. It's primarily making the old tactics more efficient, more scalable.
And a really crucial point the organization behind this report emphasizes is the need to share these findings. Collaboration industry, authorities is absolutely key to building defenses that can actually keep up with these AI-accelerated threats.
Which really brings us back to you, the listener. Why should you care about all this technical detail in these specific operations?
Because this landscape, it directly impacts your world, right? It affects the information you encounter online every single day. Is that comment section genuine, or is it mass-produced I.O.?
It affects job opportunities you might see. Is that amazing remote job offer real? Or a sophisticated scam using AI to personalize the pitch?
It could even impact the security of your own devices if these cyber ops succeed in spreading malware.
Understanding this helps you, navigate the sheer volume of information out there. Knowing that some of what you see might be AI generated specifically to deceive, it just changes how you might evaluate things. Encourages a bit of healthy skepticism, maybe.
And it's about personal security, too. Being aware that these very sophisticated scams and schemes exist, and that AI might be making them more convincing or helping them reach more people. That awareness helps you spot the red flags, protect yourself.
Yeah, this report and our whole discussion around it really shines a light on that core tension in online security today. This accelerating arms race between malicious AI use and defensive AI use.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Beyond just blocking specific bad actors or taking down fake content, how will this increase transparency into how attackers work, which seems to be this weird side effect of them using AI? How will that change the future of cybersecurity and online trust generally?
And what happens next? What are the new challenges when attackers inevitably adapt? When they start trying specifically to avoid leaving those AI footprints that defenders are now learning to look for? That feels like the question that's going to define the next chapter in this whole thing.